Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Trucker Talk Thursday. I am your host, Marsha Withers with Extraordinary Logistics Solutions. We are the solutions to your transportation needs. Thank you for joining us again. This whole month has been dedicated to my father, C. Withers. In memorial of him, he passed away about 11 years ago with dementia, Alzheimer's. And so now I am spreading the news how important it is for our trucker community to understand what we need to do to prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and also to plan. And even if you're not a trucker, but you have a loved one that is going through dementia, you have some tips here that will help you. This month, we have had a special guest. Her name is Jackie Lindsay with Lindsay House, and she has been providing us with so much wisdom concerning this particular disease. I tell you what, I am so excited for you all and how we are going to help you plan for your future today. We talked about the medical side, we talked about the eating side. Now it's time to talk about the solution for planning. Planning is always important. When I was taking care of my father, there were some things that I had to get in place first. I had to get the living will. I had to get his actual will, what he wanted. I had to get the insurance policy that he needed. And there were some things in between that I had to do to ensure that I had the control that I needed just in case something happened to my father. And indeed, it did. He ended up in a nursing home facility. And because I had his life insurance policy in my name, it was made payable to me, but he was the actual, I was the policy holder. He was the insured on the policy. And if I didn't have those things in place, then the state would liquidize his assets of this life insurance policy to pay for his stay in the nursing home, which would have caused more burden for me when he did pass, because then I would have to come out of pocket with burial expenses. And for my father, he was in Wichita. Oh, excuse me. He was raised in Wichita, but he happened to pass away in Maryland, and I had shipped his body back to Wichita for burial. If I didn't have that policy, I would have come out of pocket with so many expenses. So today I am going to bring on our special guest. Her name is Jackie Lindsay dementia. And I know I'm getting this wrong because she had just recently revamped and reorganizing her business and getting everything in alignment for 2023. So welcome back with us again, Miss Jackie Lindsay. I appreciate you for hanging out with us. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving to you all. This is the perfect time
Yes,
to sit
yes.
around with your family as you are scrolling through Facebook and seeing how many people are eating and what family members are doing what and all that good stuff. You can start talking about how to plan for your family, how to plan for your living will, how to plan for your future. So, welcome,
Right.
Jackie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful, and such a vital time as the Thanksgiving holidays when family come around. That is an excellent time to start talking about the future of a loved one with dementia. And to be able to have all the information that is needed ahead of time in preparation is good. And to recognize there are a lot of areas that they do need to cover. They have to cover the will, the living will. They have to cover all of their business necessities, such as if they had a business, who's going to run it, who's going to be in charge. Then when it comes to preparing for the transition from being at home to probably going into a memory unit or to go in a nursing home, it is important that they have all of their paperwork together. And foremost, if this is just a review of something, to make sure if there is getting life insurance involved, it needs to be done even before you take your loved one to the doctor to be diagnosed, because it's going to be much harder and a lot more expensive to get it after a diagnosis has been made, or even a visit and the doctor writes down dementia suspected or something like that. But moving forward, knowing where your loved one's vital information is, will, birth certificate, all their bank account numbers that are needed, investment account, 401cs. It is just so important to have this readily available, because what happens is when the person goes in to a memory unit or to a nursing home, then their Uncle Sam's going to want as much money as they can get, and also the facility. And if there are assets around, they're going to have to be sold if they're not jointly cared for or invested. Then it's so important to make those adjustments beforehand, so you can always just lower the amount of money that belongs to them, because when it gets to a certain point, they will not be able to take out the money that they normally would have. If you have too much in there, it depends on how much they made and how much they need for care. They're not going to take a person's home. So more that goes to the care of the home and the upkeep, all of that has to be accounted for. And getting a lawyer. Sometimes they have an elder lawyer that you can use that's less expensive. Preparing for a living will.
Hold on for me, Jack, before you go a little bit further, because that's in the slides to come. Uh, when you're looking at the will, excuse me, when you're looking at your personal records, one thing that I would like to really cautious our viewers is that when your loved one is going through a phase that you think they may have dementia or Alzheimer's disease, that when you start looking into personal information, more in-depth information, you may discover some things about your significant other that you did not know. A lot of times there are so many hidden secrets and we don't find out until that person is transitioning on, or death has occurred and now you're finding these records with maybe other children or other bank accounts or just other things that's going on that you were not privileged to know at that time. And so I just want to let you know that just because you discover this information, and it may be shocking information, do not allow this information to really hinder the care of the person, your loved one that you're working with, that you're caring for, as you make some of these discoveries. So I wanted to point that out, because
Right.
sometimes it is, very shocking to find out, that there may be a significant other along the way, or, some children that you didn't know about that this loved one was taking care of.
Right.
And so
It
now
is
we
so.
talk about the financial records.
Okay. Well, like we'd mentioned, going over any IRAs, 401k, stock investments, all of that need to be gathered together. And it's a good idea to even have a copy of it, because things can get misplaced. You never know what can happen to the caregiver. So having someone who's responsible to be involved also, as to have a duplicate of the information and make sure everything is still up to date, because sometimes you can have a life insurance and it never was updated, or even certain health insurances, long-term or disability insurances that you might have started off keeping up, but later on you start, I'm fine, I'm okay. And if you just have them in a file and don't keep up with the date and payment, say the one with the dementia was the one keeping up with it, and you just assume he or she was doing fine with the records. So keeping all of that in mind, especially when you start seeing signs. And it is a very good thing to not just look at one bank account, but also to try and find out if there are other bank accounts, saving accounts, investment accounts that you didn't know might exist, especially if they were working. It's so easy to be able to have more than one account. And so all of this has to be put together in a neat package, because when it comes time to relocating, we call it relocating, whether it is to relocate, we also call it trauma. Okay, it can be very traumatizing for the person with dementia, and also for the caregiver. So that's another area that really needs to be discussed, because sometimes the caregiver has gone as far as they can go in caring for that person. And it may not be the nursing home that they're going to. It could be a assisted living. It could also be a memory unit, and which of course they have some of their faculties and understanding, and that transition they may not want to take. They may still have enough cognitive knowledge of where they are, what's going on, and to be able to make that transition, caregivers need to be well prepared. There has to be a plan in place. You just don't say, okay, we chose this location, and so you're going to go and live here. It has to be well thought out for the caregiver's sake and for the loved one. So that's when we have this family meeting and we divvy up the responsibilities. Okay, who's going to do the search for finances that may be in other places, investments, real estate, and then there's also who's going to be responsible for helping to find the best location for the loved one. And in doing that, it may take everyone to be involved, looking out for special uh, memory units or nursing homes that will fit that person. And if you're in a situation to be, well, to have more than one choice of where they can stay, it is to have that smooth transition is going to take repetitive visits. Say you decide on a memory unit that is also assisted living. And that transition would include you visiting at different times. It would also include taking your loved one also, so they get used to that location. If you settle on a particular location that you best feels the need, then it's going to be important for at least 2 weeks to make regular trips, like a schedule. Okay, we'll go at breakfast time or the lunchtime, or we'll go when they're having activities. And then we'll make sure that the staff gets to know that person. And then where that person is going to be living, what room is he going to be in, or she, and what does it look like, and getting the person that's going to be living there used to the transition of activities and being with other people. And in the meantime, you're keeping a record of the things that they enjoy in their natural home. You'll find out that a lot of things that's in the home they really didn't like. But then if you're paying attention or asking questions, you'll find out what they really want to be a part of what they have. So when that time comes, if the caregiver can have another loved one or a friend or someone that the person with dementia can trust, then they could take them out to lunch or have activities that day while the caregiver is actually moving or getting other family members to help with the move, so that when the move is completed, that person has a place that looks like their home and they're slightly used to it because they've been visiting there and meeting the staff and even meeting some of the other residents. So it's not a strange transition that happened, but it's more familiar and comfortable. And that eliminates a lot of the stress that can occur both for the caregiver and the person. So that's a really big change that involves the person with the disease that has to be worked out. And then for the next 2 weeks while they're there, it's important to keep the visits, keep the calls, keep the engagement till they're used to it. And then you can slowly taper off as much time that you were with them. You can taper it off slowly so they adjust and there aren't any future problems. And all of that comes after you've gotten all of the paperwork in order, because you're going to have signatures that need to be done. You're going to have to decide where things are for preparation for the transition to future location, even because then we're talking about hospice care or palliative care that may come into play. So that's another area that has to be considered.
You know, one of the things that I find, I am one of the, I come from a family that believed in life insurance. If you don't have nothing else, you always have life insurance.
Right,
For
right.
whatever reason, you spend 60 years paying on a policy, but you always have life insurance. And now they made available the long-term care, the disability insurance, and
Uh-huh.
OOIDA. For a lot of my truckers out there, they have these different policies as well. And I do have some information for Isaac, who is a insurance rep here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That if you have questions, he was not able to join us on the call tonight, but you can reach out to him or send him over an email, and he'll be able to answer some of those questions for you regarding life insurance, health insurance, long-term care, and disability insurance, and different other types of insurance that you may be considering or thinking about for your loved one. So now we come to the meat of it all, and this is the will and the living will. We want to ensure that your will is carried out when you're not in the shape to do it yourself. And one of the things about a will, it is giving a documentation of what you want to see done. And we ask that if you're doing a will yourself, and if you're not seeking an attorney for whatever reason that it may be, that you have your documents notarized. It's going to be important that those documents are notarized and that you give them to two different people, because that shows that you took the initiative to plan out what you want to see take place in your life as you're going through these various changes. And you want to get it done, do it now.
Yeah.
Make sure
You,
that you have a will now. You may, you're probably 40 years old, 35 years old, 27 years old, it doesn't really make a difference how old you are to have a will and to have a living will, because accidents, incidents can happen at any given time, and someone else is taking the ownership to treat you the way that they think you want to be treated and not how you actually want to be treated. So please take this in consideration. Also, when you look at a will, if you don't have a will, all your stuff goes to the state and the state makes a decision. So, do you want to work so hard to leave your family with nothing and the state decides what they're going to do with your possessions? No, we can't do that. So, get a will. All right. Miss Lizzie, did you
And
have anything you
yes,
wanted
and
to add to it?
uh-huh. Concerning the will, it is so important. You mentioned someone else having it too. You know, a lot of times it's good for three people to have it: the person that is writing out the will, the closest one to them, and then a third party. Because you never know, if you don't keep that will up, it becomes old. So it has to be reviewed actually yearly if possible, because things happen within that year, and if it's not kept up, then it becomes ineffective in some cases. And the relationship between the person that has the will and the one caring for them, it can change. And if it changes,
Mhm.
and someone has to have a will that represents the person with dementia, because with personalities changing, the will is lost, and where is the other will? And so when the person has dementia, then they get to a point where they might have forgotten where they put it, where is it. If there's hostility with the person that's being the caregiver, it can suddenly become lost. So having that third person that's reliable uh, involved is so important. I know we hate to think like that, but a lot of emotions goes with caring for someone.
Yes, it does.
And you mentioned it earlier about what can happen if uh, there's anger. You end up finding out something that you didn't expect about that person. That can change the caregiver's heart, the caregiver's concern, the caregiver's interest, and it can be detrimental to the person with dementia. So sometimes having that third party, having those family get-togethers where everyone is in agreement with and has some part of the knowledge, or even all of the knowledge of what the person with dementia wants, is so important, because you've seen
Yes. And
caregivers
you
go
know,
the
when
right.
you are, say that one more time.
I just mentioned that when caregivers and the person they're caring for get disconnected, strange things happen. Okay, I talked about the process of how you should do a transition into a memory unit or nursing home, but
Mhm.
sometimes when the division comes between the caregiver and the person they're caring for, the caregiver takes on the responsibility or the desire, let me just put you where I want you to be now that I found out this, that, and the other. So it is important to make sure that more than one person or even two people know what's going on, so things don't change when the emotions get highly active in the situation.
Yeah, and another legal document that I want to talk about is the power of attorney and
Yes.
the dual power of attorney,
Dual, yeah, dual power
and
of
then
attorney.
the power of attorney for your health care. One of the
Mhm.
things with my dad, he never wanted to be placed on life support. If his heart stopped, it stopped. He did not want to be resuscitated. And I was a selfish child and had my dad was resuscitated, and he had a breathing tube put in. And so the next day I went to the nurse's station. I said, well, we have to take it out because this is not what he wanted. And if he, can't breathe on his own, then that's fine. But if he breathes on his own, that's fine as well. But I cannot leave my dad on a breathing machine because that wasn't his will, that wasn't his desire. And so when we're writing out your wills, take that in consideration. Take in consideration your healthcare needs. If you want to be resuscitated, if so, how long do you want to stay on life support? These are some of the things that we don't really want to think about, but it's something that we have to think about, because you also have to think about who is going to pay this medical bill. And these medical bills are not cheap. And they can take up a lot of your resources because they have to be paid one way or another. And so, with the power of attorney, as a dispatcher, we have limited power of attorney to talk on your behalf to the insurance companies. But, in some of the drivers that I have a little bit more because of the plan that they have that gives me a little bit more power of attorney on their behalf, just in case anything happens. And one of the things that I want to say that is so important to me is we had a driver that was a fatality, and his wife did not have any control over anything that he had. And her name wasn't on the bank account. She just had a lot of trouble getting the resources that she needed to maintain her daily life. And if you are the sole provider for your family, make sure that your spouse, your significant other, has the things in alignment so that it's easier for them to keep on going when life changes and your family dynamics change, that these things are in place. It is so important because a lot of people pass and their significant other is just left stranded because there's nothing that they have to keep them going. There may be a life insurance policy, it may not be a life insurance policy, but at the end of the day, please seek legal counsel. Every state is different. What goes on here in Tulsa, Oklahoma may not be the same thing that they do in New Jersey or North Carolina, South Carolina, or even in Kansas. Seek legal advice. Make sure that you get everything in writing that you need to ensure that your whole plan for your future is successful. Okay, because it's nothing like not being prepared, because in the process of not being prepared, it causes more harm than it does good. And we have here some information for you. If you want to reach out to Lindsay, please contact her. Her information is on the screen. You can call her, send her an email, or visit her website. She has this trusty booklet for dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Get this book. It's pocket size. It fit in your wallet. Well, it won't fit in your wallet, but it can fit in your back pocket.
Back
It
pocket.
can fit in your purse. It can fit in your medicine bag. It can fit in your personal care bag. Get this book. This book is $5, and this can help your families know exactly how to plan. She gives you signs and things to look for in a person that's going through dementia. She is an excellent source of information. If you would like to schedule a meeting with her, certain please do so. Even though she's located here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, her knowledge goes across the border, right? Knowledge is
There's
power when you
always
have it
Zoom.
in your hands and you know what to do with it. Say that again, Jackie.
I said there's always Zoom. You can connect with Zoom,
Yes,
or
and Zoom.
we can still meet and we can have consultations. Yes. That was something I wanted to
All right.
mention, that
Yeah.
a caregiver has to keep in mind, and along with the person with dementia, if they have a second disease, say that they're still wanting to live as long as possible and they are interested in experimental treatment, then they should go the route of palliative care, okay, while they're in a nursing home. Or that can be done at home also, so that they can get the care that they need, help the caregiver out, and the person with the disease is in an environment that is safe and comfortable, and yet they're still getting the medications and all that they need. But if they choose hospice, then they have to have an expectancy of about 6 months left to live without any type of medication that will extend life. It will only bring comfort to them. And so that's another reason for having dual power of attorney, so that even though they started off with the spouses, will say, uh, having equal rights to decisions that they are making. The person that develops the dementia can also continue as long as they have the cognitive ability to make decisions. And then when they no longer have it, then it just switches over to the caregiver without trying to rush and get an attorney and get a signature force to give them that power. I've seen last minute um, panic buttons go off where they're waiting to the very last minute before they make preparations. But the information you're giving is so important in helping everything to be at ease, and they can spend their time caring for the loved one rather than trying to get all the paperwork in order, because last minute trying to get it in order, mistakes happen, something is forgotten, and it's more important to get it out the way early, like you mentioned, so they can spend that quality time with their loved one.
All right. And for more insurance information, if you have questions about insurance, we do have information that you can contact Isaac Causey here. I have listed his phone number as well that you can reach out to him. And also, if you are a member of the OOIDA community, Owner Operators Independent Association, please reach out to them, find out what you're covered for. I have my drivers, even though I'm a dispatcher, I have my drivers get the disability, the workers comp. It's not workers comp, but it's on the lines of workers compensation, because you know what, you're independent owner operator. You're not, underneath a company structure, but your own, and so you have to protect yourself. And so I highly recommend that you get this coverage. The driver that we had, if he did not have on OOIDA, his family wouldn't receive any type of medical, excuse me, not medical, but any type of insurance benefits, because he had this accident on the job. And if he didn't have this coverage, then the wife really wouldn't have anything. And I don't know how the money is dispersed or anything like that, but I do know that he had a significant policy that was about $500,000 policy, if not more. So, I strongly encourage that you do reach out to your agent and find out what you can do for you and your family. And then we have Signet Mobile Notary with Sade Banks. You can reach out to her. She is based here in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, and she is now working on the process. They are releasing notaries to have electronic signatures so that she can sign your documents electronically. Right now, she's based in Tulsa. So if you happen to be driving through the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, you can certainly give her a call, schedule an appointment, and she will come see you. Yes, she'll meet you at a truck stop if you need her to. All right. And then we have Extraordinary Logistics Solutions. We are the solution to your transportation needs, and we offer various services, not just only dispatching, but we also offer back end support too for your company. All right. So I hope this information was helpful to you and your family members. And we just want to say thank you for joining us this Thanksgiving. We really do appreciate you. And we want to send out our blessings to you and your family that you make the best decision for your family in this holiday time. All right. And make sure you take something on the before you go. All right. And those that are not able to join your friends and family because you are on the job and you are working, we want to say thank you for being the backbone of America. Where would we be? We wouldn't even have turkey on the table if it wasn't for you. So we want to say thank you so much. And please make sure that you take heed to the information that we have provided. If you have any questions, if you want to see any other content that is not really being talked about that affects the trucking community, please let me know. And guess what? Next month is December. We're celebrating Christmas. We're getting ready to plan for the new year. We got so much coming to you next month. So stay tuned. We're here next Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. We enjoy you and we want to see you succeed in the years to come. So thank you so much for joining us tonight for Trucker Talk Thursday.